The rain drummed softly against the windows of my home office, a familiar sound that often accompanied my late nights. I sat at my desk, surrounded by stacks of paperwork and the glow of my laptop screen, feeling the weight of my unfulfilled marriage pressing down on me. My husband, Mark, had become a ghost in our relationship, more interested in his own pursuits than in nurturing what we had built together. It was a reality I tried to ignore, but the silence in our home spoke volumes. That evening, Kyle, my 22-year-old nephew, called me. He needed help with an art project for college, something about exploring identity through mixed media. I agreed without hesitation. It was a welcome distraction from my own life. As a career woman in marketing, I thrived on deadlines and creativity. Helping Kyle felt like a chance to reconnect with something genuine. We decided to meet at a cozy cafe near his university, a place filled with the rich aroma of coffee and the chatter of students immersed in their studies. The cafe was adorned with local artwork, vibrant colors splashing across the walls, mirroring the energy of Portland's art scene. When Kyle arrived, his enthusiasm was infectious. He plopped down across from me with his sketchbook and a steaming cup of chai. "Thanks for helping me out, Aunt Laura," he said with a grin that reminded me so much of his mother. "Of course. I wouldn't miss it," I replied as I flipped open his sketchbook to reveal chaotic yet intriguing drawings sprawled across the pages. As we delved into discussions about art techniques and concepts of identity, I felt a spark of something unexpected, an emotional intimacy that had been absent from my life for far too long. We spent hours lost in conversation, sharing laughter over pastries and coffee refills. With each passing moment, it became clear that Kyle shared not only my passion for art but also an eagerness to connect on deeper levels. The late-night work sessions began soon after our cafe meeting. We transformed my home office into an impromptu studio filled with paints and canvases scattered across every available surface. The atmosphere buzzed with creativity as we collaborated on his project, often talking late into the night about our lives and dreams. But amidst this newfound connection lay an undercurrent of unease within me, a reminder of the life I was neglecting at home. Mark's absence hung over me like a cloud. He was often out late himself these days. The more time I spent with Kyle, the more aware I became of how distant my marriage had grown. One night while we were painting together under soft lighting, Kyle paused and looked up from his canvas. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "I've always admired your drive. You've accomplished so much." "Thank you," I replied softly, feeling flattered yet vulnerable under his gaze. We shared a lingering glance that seemed to stretch beyond mere familial affection. An unspoken acknowledgement hung between us like an electric charge. The moment felt charged with possibility yet fraught with danger. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. As we returned to our work after that quiet exchange, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something had shifted between us, a new layer added to our relationship that blurred the lines of aunt and nephew. Days turned into weeks as our late-night sessions continued to deepen our bond. Laughter filled the room along with paint splatters and half-finished projects. Yet guilt gnawed at me like an unwelcome guest at dinner. Every moment spent with Kyle reminded me of what lay unresolved back home. One evening as we wrapped up another productive session filled with creative energy and empty coffee cups scattered around us, Kyle confessed something unexpected. "I've been seeing someone, but it's complicated." His words caught me off guard as I set down my brush. "What do you mean?" "I thought she was the one, but now," his voice trailed off as he stared at his canvas blankly. "Relationships can be tough," I offered gently while internally grappling with how similar our situations felt, both seeking understanding amid emotional turmoil. Kyle looked up at me then, eyes searching mine for something unspoken between us, the connection that had been building over countless hours spent together in this small space filled with creativity and vulnerability. At that moment, everything shifted again. Feelings swirled beneath the surface like paint mixing on canvas, messy yet beautiful, and before I could process it fully, he leaned closer towards me. We kissed, he whispered suddenly as if daring himself to say it aloud rather than just think it, a confession hanging heavy in the air between us. My heart raced at those words. They echoed through my mind like a drumbeat, amplifying both excitement and fear within me. What did this mean? What would happen next? With every shared secret painted onto those canvases came consequences neither of us could fully comprehend yet. Our lives intertwined in ways neither of us anticipated nor prepared for as we stood on this precipice together without knowing how far we might fall or what awaited us below. As the days turned into weeks, our late-night work sessions became a sanctuary for both of us. The soft glow of the desk lamp illuminated the scattered art supplies, creating a cocoon where laughter mingled with the scent of paint and coffee. Each night, Kyle and I delved deeper into our project, but it was the unspoken connection between us that truly flourished in those hours. I would catch him stealing glances at me, his eyes sparkling with mischief and curiosity. There was a comfort in our silence that filled the spaces between words, a rhythm we danced to without even realizing it. Yet, beneath that surface lay an undercurrent of guilt that tugged at my heart. My marriage felt like a distant memory, an obligation rather than a source of joy. One evening, as we sat on my living room floor surrounded by sketches and coffee cups, Kyle broke the silence. "Aunt Laura," he said tentatively, "can I tell you something?" His tone held a weight I hadn't anticipated. "Of course," I replied, setting down my paintbrush and giving him my full attention. "I've been seeing someone," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it's complicated." The words struck me like a sudden gust of wind. My heart sank. I hadn't expected this revelation. "What do you mean?" I asked carefully. He hesitated before continuing. "She's great, but there's this distance between us, like we're not really connecting anymore." His expression mirrored my own internal struggle, a mix of longing and uncertainty. I nodded slowly, understanding more than he knew. "Relationships can be tough," I said softly, trying to find the right words. "Sometimes it's hard to know what you really want." Kyle looked at me then, his gaze piercing through the haze of my thoughts. "What about you? Are you happy?" The question hung heavily in the air. How could I answer him honestly without exposing all the cracks in my own life? Instead of responding directly, I diverted back to our project. "Let's focus on this painting for now," I suggested lightly. But his piercing gaze remained on me as if he could see through my facade. The moment felt charged with unspoken confessions as we returned to our brushes and colors. Days passed after that conversation, yet it lingered in my mind like an unfinished melody, haunting and unresolved. Our late-night sessions continued, however, each moment felt heavier with unacknowledged feelings swirling around us like paint on canvas. One night after particularly long hours spent working side by side, Kyle leaned closer to me as we examined our latest piece, a vibrant explosion of colors that reflected our chaotic emotions more than any planned artwork could ever convey. "Aunt Laura," he murmured softly, his breath warm against my ear. "Can we talk about what happened earlier?" I swallowed hard, anticipation coursed through me like electricity. "What do you mean?" His hand brushed against mine as he spoke again, tentative yet bold. "I think there's something between us that goes beyond just helping with school." My heart raced at his admission. Every fiber within me wanted to deny it while simultaneously embracing the truth lurking beneath the surface. "Kyle." Before I could finish my thought or pull away from this moment unfolding before us, he closed the distance between us entirely, his lips pressed against mine in an unexpected rush of warmth and urgency. We kissed. Time seemed to stand still as reality blurred around us, a fleeting moment suspended in time where nothing else mattered but this connection igniting between us like wildfire against dry grass. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and wide-eyed, I could see uncertainty flicker across his face mingled with exhilaration. Perhaps he felt it too. The enormity of what had just transpired weighed heavily upon us both. "I shouldn't have done that," he stammered after an eternity filled only with silence. No, I replied softly but firmly. Guilt wrestled within me alongside an undeniable thrill coursing through every vein in my body. But maybe it was meant to happen. The gravity of those words settled around us like fog enveloping Portland's streets at dawn, a mix of clarity and confusion intertwining seamlessly within our shared space. Yet even amidst this newfound intimacy lay shadows, the awareness that outside these walls existed lives intertwined by commitments unspoken yet binding nonetheless. Mine tethered to a marriage crumbling under its own weight while Kyle grappled with his own emotional entanglements far beyond mere school projects or art collaborations. As weeks rolled into months filled with stolen moments behind closed doors and whispered confessions shared over coffee cups brimming with warmth during late-night conversations, it became increasingly clear how deeply intertwined our lives had become. Each brushstroke on canvas mirroring not only our artistry but also reflecting hidden truths about ourselves neither one dared fully confront until now. But lurking beneath all this beauty lay inevitable consequences awaiting discovery, a reality neither one could escape forever nor ignore without dire repercussions looming just beyond reach like shadows cast by flickering streetlights illuminating darkened alleyways throughout Portland's bustling streets below. With every passing day spent together came increasing tension. The fear that someone might notice how much time we were spending together or sense something amiss within our interactions grew palpable around us like static electricity before a storm breaks free from its confines above heavy clouds hanging low over city rooftops during twilight hours when everything feels possible yet uncertain all at once. And so life continued onward despite these complications. Dinner conversations with family filled with laughter masked by underlying tension while late nights became sanctuaries where secrets were shared freely amidst colorful palettes reflecting emotions too complex for mere words alone captured perfectly onto canvas. Surfaces waiting patiently for their stories told through strokes made by hands trembling slightly from excitement mixed equally alongside trepidation swirling endlessly beneath. Layers upon layers painted across each piece created together over time spent lost within one another's company away from prying eyes watching closely from afar outside these walls surrounding us both tightly woven together now more than ever before despite everything else happening outside beyond reach just out there somewhere waiting quietly for its turn to intervene inevitably sooner rather than later. And then came an unexpected message from Kyle one evening. Can we talk? Something happened. The weight behind those words sent chills down my spine, a feeling both thrilling yet terrifying as if standing precariously on edge overlooking deep waters below ready to plunge headfirst into unknown depths awaiting discovery just beneath surface ripples dancing playfully across shimmering reflections cast upon water glistening brightly under moonlight illuminating everything around beautifully despite darkness lingering nearby always threatening encroachment into light-filled spaces created together during moments shared intimately away from prying eyes watching closely ever since first kiss sealed fate entwined forevermore. The message lingered in my mind long after I read it. Can we talk? Something happened. What could it be? My heart raced as I glanced at the clock, the minutes stretching into what felt like hours. Kyle had been so distant lately, caught up in his thoughts. I wondered if his words hinted at something deeper, perhaps a culmination of our unspoken feelings. Later that night, I found myself sitting across from him in our usual cafe, the aroma of coffee and baked goods enveloping us like a warm embrace. The soft murmur of conversations around us faded into the background as I focused on Kyle's expression. He looked troubled, his brow furrowed, and I felt a pang of concern for him. What's going on? I asked gently, leaning forward. He hesitated, glancing down at his cup before meeting my gaze again. I've been thinking about everything, about us. His voice was steady but laced with uncertainty. I held my breath, my heart pounding in anticipation of what he might say next. What do you mean? Kyle took a deep breath. I thought I could handle my feelings for you. But it's harder than I thought. The vulnerability in his eyes was disarming. Our lips met that night, an act both exhilarating and terrifying. It was as if we were stepping off a cliff together, plunging into an abyss where nothing else existed but us and the weight of our choices. The kiss felt electric, igniting something within me that had long been dormant. As we pulled away, reality flooded back in. We were still bound by family ties and societal expectations. "We can't," I whispered, fear creeping into my thoughts. "I know," he replied softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "But it feels so right." The tension between us hung heavy in the air as we navigated the complexities of our feelings amidst laughter and shared memories from late-night study sessions filled with art discussions and dreams for the future. Days turned into weeks as we continued to meet under the guise of helping with his project while our connection deepened further into uncharted territory. Each late-night rendezvous became more charged with unspoken words and lingering glances that held promises neither of us dared to articulate fully. Yet guilt gnawed at me, a constant reminder of my responsibilities and commitments to my husband, who seemed increasingly oblivious to my absences or perhaps chose to ignore them. He had become absorbed in his own world, often retreating into late-night work sessions himself or disappearing for hours without explanation. One evening after another late-night session with Kyle, I returned home to find my husband waiting for me in the living room, concern etched on his face. "Laura," he said cautiously, "you've been coming home late a lot lately." "I've been busy with work," I replied defensively while avoiding eye contact. He studied me closely. There was something unsettling about the way he scrutinized my every move as if searching for hidden truths behind my facade. "Are you sure that's all it is?" A chill ran down my spine at his probing tone. It felt like he could see through me, like he knew there was more beneath the surface than just work commitments. "Of course," I replied too quickly, trying to mask any hint of hesitation in my voice. Days passed with an uneasy tension threading through our household dynamics. The silence between us grew louder with each passing moment spent apart from one another while Kyle remained an anchor amidst this stormy sea of emotions swirling within me. One afternoon while scrolling through social media during lunch break at work, an unexpected notification caught my eye, a photo shared by one of Kyle's friends showing him laughing at a local brewery surrounded by unfamiliar faces, friends from college perhaps? The image stirred something inside me, jealousy mixed with anxiety over what might be happening when we weren't together. Later that evening, I confronted Kyle about it during one of our late-night conversations over coffee brewed strong enough to fuel our discussions about life beyond school projects and family obligations. "Did you go out without telling me?" My voice trembled slightly despite trying to maintain composure. He looked taken aback but quickly recovered from surprise before responding cautiously, "It was just a casual get-together, nothing serious." The weight behind those words hung heavily between us, an unspoken acknowledgement that we were both navigating treacherous waters filled with potential pitfalls threatening everything we had built together thus far. Our bond forged through shared experiences now teetering on fragile ground under scrutiny from outside forces threatening to expose us both if not careful enough moving forward together. As days turned into nights filled with stolen moments shared only between us away from prying eyes watching closely ever since first kiss sealed fate entwined forevermore. Yet still looming overhead remained shadows cast by doubts creeping slowly into mind like dark clouds gathering ominously overhead ready to unleash their storms upon unsuspecting souls below caught unaware amidst their passions ignited by forbidden connections formed against all odds stacked high against them daring them forward despite consequences lurking just beyond reach waiting patiently until they least expected it. Our time together became increasingly fraught with tension as Kyle opened up about a past heartbreak, a relationship that had left him scarred yet resilient enough not to shy away from pursuing what felt real between us now despite fears lingering nearby threatening encroachment upon light-filled spaces created during moments shared intimately away from prying eyes, watching closely ever since first kiss sealed fate entwined forevermore. I thought love would always be easy, He confessed one night while gazing out towards Portland's twinkling skyline, reflecting off glassy waters below, shimmering brightly under moonlight, illuminating everything around beautifully despite darkness lingering nearby, always threatening encroachment into light-filled spaces created together during moments shared intimately away from prying eyes watching closely ever since first kiss sealed fate, entwined forevermore. Nothing worth having comes easy, I replied softly. Those words echoed truths learned throughout life, lessons shaped by experiences weathered over time spent navigating complexities surrounding relationships formed amidst societal expectations placed upon individuals striving toward fulfillment even when faced obstacles standing tall before them, daring them forward despite consequences lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently until they least expected it. As dawn approached one fateful morning after another long night spent lost within each other's embrace, wrapped tightly around one another, seeking solace found only within warmth radiating between two souls intertwined forevermore. "I don't want this to end," Kyle murmured against my ear-breaking silence, enveloping moment shared tenderly beneath starlit skies above, casting gentle glow illuminating everything around beautifully despite darkness lingering nearby, always threatening encroachment into light-filled spaces created together during moments shared intimately away from prying eyes watching closely ever since first kiss sealed fate, entwined forevermore. His words hung heavily between us. A promise whispered softly yet carrying weight far greater than either dared acknowledge, openly facing reality looming ahead, filled uncertainties awaiting answers long sought after but never quite grasped firmly enough hold onto tightly amid chaos surrounding lives lived, fully embracing passions ignited through connections formed against all odds stacked high against them, daring them forward despite consequences lurking just beyond reach, waiting patiently until they least expected it. And then came an unsettling message from my husband, a simple text sent while lost within thoughts reflecting turmoil brewing beneath surface, bubbling up ready overflow, spilling forth truths once hidden, carefully guarded, now threatening unravel everything built thus far, complicating matters further, leaving little room breathe freely without fear, repercussions looming large overhead, casting shadows across paths chosen, leading toward unknown futures awaiting discovery just beyond horizon beckoning. Forth daring souls venture forth boldly, chasing dreams long deferred, awaiting realization finally coming true. The weight of my husband's message lingered in the air, heavy and suffocating. I could almost hear the clinking of glasses from the nearby brewery, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within me. The text was simple yet loaded with implications. He was working late again, as if that were a normal occurrence in our household. But it wasn't just the late hours that unsettled me, it was the underlying tone that hinted at secrets of his own. Kyle and I had spent the previous night wrapped in each other's arms, sharing whispered dreams and fears, a refuge from our realities. We spent the night together, and now I was left grappling with what that meant for us. The warmth of his body was still fresh in my memory, yet guilt gnawed at my insides like an uninvited guest. My heart raced as I contemplated how to navigate this tangled web we had spun. I glanced at my phone again, hoping for a different message or perhaps an invitation to escape into Kyle's world once more. Instead, all I found were reminders of responsibilities, work deadlines and family obligations pressing down on me like a weight I could no longer bear. The next day unfolded slowly. I met Kyle at our usual cafe, its familiar aroma of roasted coffee beans wafting through the air as I entered. He was already seated at our corner table, sketchbook open in front of him. His focus on the page drew me in. There was something captivating about watching him create. "Hey," he greeted me with a soft smile that ignited warmth within me despite my lingering doubts. "Hey," I replied, sliding into the chair opposite him. "How's your project coming along?" "It's getting there," he said, his eyes brightening as he spoke about his work. "But honestly, it feels easier when you're around." Those words wrapped around my heart like a warm embrace, but they also tightened the knot of guilt deep within me. I forced myself to smile back at him while searching for some semblance of normalcy amidst this chaos. As we talked about art and life beyond school assignments, an uncomfortable thought crept into my mind. What if someone saw us together? What if they began to piece together our hidden connection? My husband's late nights weren't just a source of irritation anymore. They became a looming threat to everything we had built. Laura. Kyle's voice broke through my thoughts. Yeah? I looked up to meet his gaze. Are you okay? His brow furrowed with concern. I hesitated before responding. Just thinking about everything. He reached across the table and took my hand lightly. You know you can talk to me about anything. His touch sent shivers down my spine, igniting memories from the night before, how we laughed and shared secrets under dim light until sleep overtook us both like a gentle tide pulling us under. I appreciate that, I said softly, pulling my hand away reluctantly as reality crashed back down around me. The conversation shifted back to lighter topics as we finished our coffees, but beneath it all simmered an undercurrent of tension that neither of us wanted to acknowledge fully. Later that day, while sorting through emails at work, another message from my husband popped up on my screen, a photo taken during one of his late nights out with friends. He looked carefree and relaxed amidst laughter that seemed so foreign now. A pang shot through me. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about us both drifting apart without realizing it until it became too late. As evening approached and shadows lengthened outside my office window, uncertainty gnawed at me relentlessly. What did Kyle want? Did he see this relationship as merely an escape or something deeper? I decided to confront these feelings head-on during our next meeting later that week at an art gallery showcasing local talent, a place where we often lost ourselves among vibrant colors and creative expressions. When Friday arrived, anticipation fluttered within me like butterflies released from a jar. The gallery buzzed with energy as patrons mingled over wine and cheese while admiring various pieces displayed around them. Kyle stood near one such painting, a bold abstract piece splashed with vivid reds and blues, his eyes sparkling with excitement. Laura. Come look at this, he called out enthusiastically as I approached him. What do you think? He gestured toward the canvas as if it held answers to questions neither of us dared voice aloud yet. It's beautiful, I replied honestly, captivated by its chaos mirroring our own lives lately, a blend of colors fighting for attention yet somehow managing to coexist harmoniously on canvas. Kyle turned toward me then, his expression softened into something more serious than before. You know, being here with you feels right. My heart raced again. Those words resonated deeply within me but also filled me with dread over what lay ahead should we continue down this path together without regard for consequences looming just beyond reach. I feel that too, I admitted cautiously but felt compelled to add quickly, but what does it mean for both of us? He stepped closer, our bodies barely inches apart amidst swirling bodies around us lost in their conversations while we stood suspended in time caught between two worlds, the one filled with expectations versus one where passion flourished unrestrained by societal norms binding us tightly together yet threatening everything else apart simultaneously. Before either of us could respond further though, a familiar face appeared unexpectedly across the room. My sister-in-law standing nearby scanning faces curiously until her gaze landed squarely on ours locked together in shared intensity amidst vibrant hues surrounding us. A rush of panic surged through me. She must have sensed something amiss because her expression shifted immediately from casual interest into suspicion-laden scrutiny directed right toward us both, catching Kyle off guard momentarily before he regained composure, quickly masking any trace revealing true nature behind our connection. Laura. There you are, she called out cheerfully, approaching closer while Kyle instinctively stepped back, creating distance between us just enough not draw attention too much, although tension remained palpable, thickening atmosphere surrounding everything unfolding rapidly around us. As she engaged Kyle in small talk, innocently unaware underlying currents swirling beneath surface threatening everything held precious close, safeguarded tightly away from prying eyes, watching closely, waiting patiently until least expected moment arrive when truths would finally emerge, breaking free, shattering illusions crafted carefully over years past, leaving nothing untouched by reality crashing down upon them all. In moments like these, clarity often eluded, grasp slipping away just beyond reach, taunting endlessly, reminding how fragile lives truly were, bound tightly together yet pulled apart by choices made a long way, leading toward uncertain futures awaiting discovery, hidden somewhere deep within hearts yearning, desperately find solace amid chaos, waiting patiently until time finally came, reveal secrets long buried beneath layers, soft whispers exchanged quietly behind closed doors. The weight of my conflicting emotions pressed heavily on my chest as I sat across from Kyle in the dim light of the cafe. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, mingling with the sweet scent of pastries that had become our late-night fuel. I could see his youthful enthusiasm, a stark contrast to the shadows lurking in my own life. He looked at me with a mixture of hope and uncertainty, as if he were waiting for me to say something that would either bind us closer or push us apart. "Laura," he began, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of vulnerability. "What are we doing? I mean, where is this going?" I hesitated, feeling the gravity of his question pull at me. My heart raced as I thought about everything that had transpired between us. The laughter, the shared secrets, and yes, even that moment when we kissed seemed like a lifetime ago. But now, reality loomed larger than ever, demanding attention. "I don't know," I finally admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so confused." Kyle reached across the table, his hand brushing against mine. The warmth of his touch sent a shiver through me, a reminder of what we had shared and what was at stake. Yet guilt gnawed at my insides like a relentless tide. My marriage was unraveling before my eyes. How could I entertain thoughts of a future with him when my past still lingered? "I care about you," he said softly, searching my face for answers. "I want more than this, whatever this is." His words struck me deeply, echoing in the hollow spaces within me where love had once thrived but now felt abandoned. I couldn't deny that I felt drawn to him in ways I hadn't anticipated, ways that scared me. Just then, my phone buzzed on the table, breaking our momentary connection. It was a message from Mark, my husband, reminding me about dinner plans later that evening. The thought of facing him sent a wave of anxiety crashing over me. How could I sit across from him after everything? "Are you okay?" Kyle asked, concern etched on his face. I forced a smile but knew it didn't reach my eyes. "Yeah, just family stuff." As we resumed our conversation about art and life in Portland's vibrant culture, my mind wandered back to Mark's confession just days earlier about his own infidelity, his own late nights spent away from home that had shattered any semblance of trust between us. The truth hung heavy in the air between Kyle and me. It felt like an unspoken agreement that we were both aware of yet reluctant to confront fully. "Do you think we could really make this work?" Kyle asked suddenly. His question caught me off guard. It was as if he had pulled back the curtain on all our hidden desires laid bare before us both. "I don't know," I replied honestly again. "Everything feels so complicated." "I get it," he said quietly but firmly. "But what if we tried? What if we didn't let fear dictate our choices?" His words resonated deep within me, a call to action against the inertia that had defined much of my life lately. But loyalty tugged at my heartstrings like an old song playing softly in the background. As our conversation deepened into discussions about dreams and aspirations beyond art projects and late-night study sessions, another message arrived from Mark, a photo taken at dinner with friends who looked blissfully unaware of the storm brewing beneath their surface smiles. I glanced up at Kyle just as he leaned closer across the table. Our faces were inches apart now, a delicate balance between longing and caution swirling around us like smoke from an extinguished candle. "What do you want?" he asked suddenly, vulnerability shining through his gaze. My heart raced at his directness. It was refreshing yet terrifying to be confronted so openly with such raw emotion amid all this chaos surrounding us both. "I want clarity," I murmured finally after taking a moment to collect myself amidst swirling thoughts battling for dominance within me. In response to my admission came silence, a heavy pause filled with unspoken understanding lingering between two souls caught in an intricate dance neither fully comprehended yet both desperately sought resolution within its rhythm. Moments later though Kyle broke eye contact first, his gaze shifting toward the window where raindrops began cascading downwards like tears falling silently onto pavement below, an external reflection mirroring internal turmoil raging within each heartbeat echoing loudly against walls built carefully over years past now threatening collapse under pressure mounting steadily against them. "Laura," he said softly again breaking through layers thickening around us slowly suffocating connection forged anew despite circumstances pulling us apart relentlessly pushing boundaries further than either dared imagine possible before now. "What if we choose each other?" His question hung suspended in time, the weighty implications settling heavily upon shoulders already burdened by choices made previously leaving no room for indecision any longer. My mind raced back to Mark's confession, his admission tearing apart threads binding together what once felt secure yet increasingly frayed under strain accumulating over time leading toward inevitable confrontation awaiting resolution long overdue. "I can't just walk away from everything," I replied finally feeling tears prickling behind closed eyelids threatening escape into open air surrounding us both. Kyle nodded slowly understanding flickering briefly across features softening edges hardened by uncertainty lingering there between us still waiting patiently until moment arrived when decisions would need be made transforming lives irrevocably forevermore. As rain continued its relentless descent outside washing away remnants memories left behind moments shared now tinged bittersweetness coloring everything anew. The cafe felt like sanctuary amidst storm raging outside providing refuge against elements threatening break free into open world waiting beyond doors closed tightly shut keeping secrets hidden safely inside. But then came another message from Mark. A simple text stating he'd be home late again tonight due work commitments piling higher than ever before leaving little room for anything else including conversations needing happen urgently between two people standing precariously upon precipice ready leap into unknown depths awaiting discovery hidden somewhere deep within hearts yearning desperately find solace amid chaos waiting patiently until time finally came reveal secrets long buried beneath layers soft whispers exchanged quietly behind closed doors. Suddenly everything shifted. Clarity emerged unexpectedly forcing hand toward decision-making process inevitable looming large ahead casting shadows over future uncertain paths diverging sharply leading toward different destinations altogether depending upon choices made next few moments unfolding rapidly before eyes wide open unable look away anymore. "Laura." Kyle's voice broke through haze enveloping thoughts swirling chaotically around inside mind racing faster than heartbeat pounding loudly against ribcage constricting breath flowing freely once more allowing clarity seep through cracks formed over years past slowly beginning. Understand true nature desire burning brightly despite obstacles standing firmly blocking path forward daring take step forward into uncharted territory ripe opportunity awaiting discovery just beyond horizon beckoning. Enticingly closer every passing heartbeat drawing nearer each second ticking away relentlessly urging action soon. And then there it was, the moment where loyalty clashed fiercely against love entangled intricately together creating tension thick enough slice through air surrounding us both leaving nothing untouched by reality crashing down upon them all. "Laura," Kyle whispered again reaching out grasping hold tightly around fingers intertwining gently creating warmth spreading outward filling voids left behind longing desperately fill empty spaces aching quietly beneath surface yearning desperately find solace amid chaos, swirling endlessly around them both. The air between Kyle and me thickened, charged with unspoken words and emotions that had become too heavy to bear. I could feel my heart racing, a frantic drumbeat echoing the chaos in my mind. The weight of my marriage felt like a shackle, yet here was Kyle, a reminder of the warmth I had longed for. He looked at me with those searching eyes, and for a moment everything else faded away. "Laura," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. His fingers brushed against mine, igniting a spark that traveled up my arm. I wanted to pull away, to remind myself of the boundaries I had set, but the truth was that I craved this connection more than I cared to admit. "Not now," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "We can't keep doing this." But even as the words left my mouth, doubt crept in. Did I truly want to end what we had begun? The thought made me shiver. The door swung open unexpectedly, and the rush of cold air cut through our moment like a knife. My husband stood there, his brow furrowed with confusion and something darker, jealousy? Anger? It was hard to tell. He took in the scene before him, Kyle's hand lingering on mine, our closeness palpable. "What's going on here?" he demanded, stepping inside without invitation. His tone was sharp enough to slice through the tension that had enveloped us. "Nothing," I said too quickly. "Just helping Kyle with his project." The lie tasted bitter on my tongue. Kyle withdrew his hand as if burned by fire, and I felt an emptiness where warmth had just been. My husband's gaze darted between us, suspicion flickered in his eyes. "Helping him late into the night?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. "Seems like you've been doing more than just helping." I opened my mouth to respond but found no words that would suffice. The truth hung uncomfortably in the air between us, a truth that was becoming harder to ignore as each day passed. "Maybe we should talk," Kyle suggested quietly, stepping back as if he understood the gravity of our situation. "No," I snapped before catching myself. "I mean, not now." My heart raced at the thought of what might happen if we continued down this path. "You need to be honest with him," Kyle urged gently but firmly. "You can't keep hiding." "I know," I said softly, feeling defeated by the weight of it all. "But it's complicated." My husband crossed his arms over his chest defensively. "Complicated? Or convenient?" His words stung more than they should have. "What are you implying?" I shot back defensively. He stepped closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret meant only for me. "I've seen how you look at him." "Stop it." The words burst from me before I could rein them in. "You don't get to accuse me when you're out doing God knows what." The silence that followed was deafening. It wrapped around us like fog rolling through Portland streets, thick and suffocating. My husband's expression shifted from anger to something softer, a flicker of regret perhaps. "I know about your late nights too," he finally admitted, his voice low but steady. The admission hit me like a punch to the gut. My mind raced with images of him laughing over drinks with someone else while I sat alone at home wondering where he was. "You've been seeing someone?" My voice trembled slightly as disbelief washed over me. "It's not what you think," he replied hastily but without conviction. "I don't think anything, you just admitted it." He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "It didn't mean anything. It's complicated for both of us." I turned away from him then, looking out at the rain-soaked street beyond our window, each droplet mirroring the tears threatening to spill over from within me. This wasn't how life was supposed to be, this wasn't what love looked like. "I can't do this anymore," I said finally, feeling resolute yet terrified at what lay ahead. "What do you mean?" My husband asked sharply, stepping closer again as if trying to grasp onto something slipping away from him, something he didn't quite understand yet needed desperately. "I mean, we need to be honest about everything." Kyle shifted uncomfortably behind me. His presence felt both comforting and dangerous all at once, a reminder of what could be if only circumstances were different. "Laura," my husband began but faltered under the weight of my gaze fixed firmly ahead, determined not to break under pressure any longer. "I want clarity." The words tumbled out before fear could stop them. They hung heavy in the air like smoke after a fire, filling every corner with uncertainty while igniting sparks of hope deep within me for something new yet terrifyingly unknown ahead. And then there was silence again, the kind that stretches out endlessly until it feels unbearable, But this time it didn't feel suffocating, rather liberating somehow, until reality crashed back down upon us both. Kyle cleared his throat awkwardly behind me as if sensing how fragile this moment had become between us all. 3 lives intertwined by choices made long ago, now unraveling thread by thread into chaos swirling around our heads, leaving nothing untouched by its reach. And suddenly everything felt too real, the stakes raised higher than ever before, a game played recklessly without rules where hearts were laid bare upon tables stained dark with secrets long hidden beneath layers built over years spent together. "I'll go," Kyle murmured softly after an eternity passed filled only by breathless tension hanging thick around us like fog enveloping streets outside where rain fell steadily against pavement worn smooth by time. "No." The word escaped from my lips before logic could catch up. Desperation clawed at my insides, urging me forward towards something unknown yet achingly familiar all at once. A place where choices must be made regardless of consequences looming ominously overhead, waiting patiently for their turn. But even as those thoughts swirled within me battling against each other, I knew one thing clearly: there would be no turning back now. The weight of my decision bore down on me as I stared out at the bustling streets of Portland. The cafe, once a sanctuary filled with laughter and shared secrets, now felt like a cage. Each sip of coffee tasted bitter, tainted by the complexity of my choices. Kyle's face flashed in my mind, his eyes reflecting both hope and uncertainty. The moment we kissed lingered like a ghost, haunting me as I grappled with the reality of my life. I could hear the chatter around me, couples laughing, friends catching up, and it struck me how normal their lives seemed. In contrast, mine had spiraled into a labyrinth of confusion and heartache. My phone buzzed on the table, pulling me from my reverie. It was a message from Kyle. "Can we talk? I need to see you." My heart raced at his words. They were both an invitation and a challenge. I glanced at the door, half expecting to see him walk in with that familiar grin. Instead, an old friend from college entered, a friendly face in this stormy sea of emotions. Sarah spotted me and made her way over, her expression shifting from surprise to concern. "Laura. It's been ages," she exclaimed, wrapping her arms around me in a warm embrace. "Too long," I replied, forcing a smile while internally wrestling with my turmoil. As we settled into conversation over steaming mugs, Sarah's probing questions began to unravel the threads I'd woven tightly around my heart. "How's everything? You look different." Her tone held an edge that made me wary. "Just busy with work," I deflected. "Busy or overwhelmed?" she pressed gently. I hesitated before admitting, a bit of both. The honesty felt refreshing yet terrifying. Sarah leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You know you can talk to me about anything. I'm here for you." Her sincerity tugged at something deep within me. Could I really share my truth? The thought was dizzying but liberating all at once. Yet just as I opened my mouth to speak, the weight of judgment loomed large. What would she think if she knew about Kyle? Instead, I shifted the conversation back to her life, her job, her family, and found comfort in listening rather than sharing. But as we chatted away the afternoon, Sarah's perceptiveness pierced through my defenses again. "Sometimes you have to choose happiness over what others expect," she said softly. Her words resonated deeply within me. They felt like an echo of what Kyle had said during our late-night talks about love and dreams unfulfilled. But choosing happiness meant confronting painful truths about myself and those around me, especially about Mark. After Sarah left with promises to catch up soon, I sat alone in the cafe's dim light long after closing hours had passed. My thoughts drifted back to Mark's recent confession about his own infidelities, a revelation that had shattered any remaining trust between us like fragile glass underfoot. The duality of our lives weighed heavily on my conscience. While I sought solace with Kyle, Mark had sought it elsewhere too. It was almost poetic, the irony not lost on me as I recalled how we used to be so happy together before everything changed. I pulled out my phone again and typed a quick reply to Kyle, "Where do you want to meet?" His response came almost instantly, "My place." The simplicity of it sent shivers down my spine, both thrilling and terrifying all at once. As night fell over Portland and the city lights twinkled like stars above us, I made my way toward Kyle's apartment, a familiar route now marked by anticipation and dread intertwined. Each step felt heavy yet charged with possibility. What awaited on the other side of that door? When I arrived, Kyle opened it almost immediately as if he'd been waiting for hours. His expression lit up with relief upon seeing me but quickly shifted into something more serious when he noticed the tension etched across my face. "Hey," he greeted softly as he stepped aside for me to enter. "Hey," I replied quietly while crossing the threshold into his world, a space filled with art supplies scattered haphazardly across every surface, remnants of our shared passion lingering in the air like an unspoken promise. We stood facing each other for what felt like eternity until finally he broke the silence that hung heavily between us. "We need to talk." "Yeah," I murmured back as anxiety twisted tighter around my heart. This wasn't just about us anymore, it was about everything else too, the lives we led apart from each other and how they intertwined in ways neither of us could fully comprehend yet. Kyle took a deep breath before continuing. "I can't keep pretending this is just casual." His eyes searched mine for understanding or perhaps validation that this was more than just an affair cloaked in secrecy. "I don't know what else it can be," I admitted honestly while grappling with conflicting emotions swirling inside me like storm clouds ready to burst open at any moment. "Laura," he stepped closer now, his voice low but steady as if grounding himself against whatever storm lay ahead for us both. "What do you want?" The question hung between us, a pivotal moment laden with implications neither one could ignore anymore despite all our attempts thus far at avoiding them altogether through fleeting touches or stolen kisses beneath dim lights fading into shadows around us. "I want," my voice faltered momentarily as uncertainty crept back into focus again. This wasn't just about desire anymore, it was about choices leading toward futures unknown but irrevocably linked by our pasts nonetheless. Before I could finish speaking though, the sharp ring of Kyle's phone interrupted our fragile moment together, a stark reminder that life outside these walls continued unabated despite whatever revelations might unfold inside them tonight. He glanced at his screen only briefly before returning his gaze back onto mine, his expression shifting slightly now tinged with concern mixed alongside determination too perhaps. "It's work," he muttered almost apologetically but didn't move away just yet either. But then came another twist, as if fate itself decided now was not quite done playing games just yet. His brow furrowed deeper still when he saw who was calling him next, an unexpected name flashing across his screen sending ripples through both our hearts simultaneously, Mark. In that instant everything shifted. The air grew thick between us charged by unspoken fears colliding head-on against desires once carefully nurtured until now. Would this be where everything fell apart? Or perhaps where it began anew? The cafe bustled with the familiar sounds of clinking cups and the rich aroma of coffee. I sat at our usual table, fingers tracing the rim of my mug, lost in thought. The warmth of the drink contrasted sharply with the cold uncertainty that had settled in my heart. Kyle was late, and each minute stretched painfully long, reminding me of the weight of our decisions. When he finally arrived, his expression was a mix of excitement and concern. "Sorry I'm late," he said, sliding into the chair across from me. "Work ran over." "Is everything okay?" I asked, searching his eyes for answers. He nodded but didn't meet my gaze. "Just some last-minute changes to my project." We both knew we were dancing around the real issue. The fallout from our choices loomed like a storm cloud overhead. The kiss we shared last week echoed in my mind, a beautiful yet haunting reminder of what we had crossed into together. "I've been thinking," I began cautiously, "about us, about everything." Kyle leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Me too. I want to be honest about what this means for us." I could feel the tension building between us again, that familiar pull that had drawn us together in the first place. But now it felt different, charged with urgency and fear. "Do you think we can really make this work?" I asked, my heart racing at the vulnerability of exposing my doubts. "I believe we can," he replied earnestly. "But it won't be easy." His words hung in the air like an unspoken promise and a challenge all at once. Just then, a loud crash from across the cafe shattered our moment. A table had tipped over, sending chairs clattering to the ground. My heart raced as I turned to see what had happened. A group of students erupted into laughter nearby, their attention shifting from their phones to our corner table where Kyle and I sat too close together for comfort. Their eyes flickered with curiosity, whispers began circulating as they pointed in our direction. "Laura," one girl exclaimed playfully, her voice dripping with mock surprise. "Is that your nephew? Looks like you two are having quite a cozy chat." Heat flooded my cheeks as embarrassment washed over me like ice water. The laughter continued around us while Kyle shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Let's go," he said quickly, glancing toward the exit as if hoping to escape the scrutiny. I hesitated for a moment before nodding in agreement. We stood up together, but not before I caught snippets of conversation from nearby tables. Words like scandal and inappropriate floated through my mind like daggers. Outside on the street, fresh air enveloped us but did little to ease my racing thoughts. The laughter from inside still echoed in my ears as we walked side by side down Hawthorne Boulevard. "We can't keep doing this," I finally said as we paused outside a local brewery where colorful lights twinkled against twilight shadows. Kyle looked at me with confusion and hurt etched on his face. "What do you mean?" "I mean, this isn't just about us anymore," I replied hesitantly, feeling overwhelmed by everything happening around us, the whispers following us like shadows. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear him above the noise of passing cars and chatter from nearby bars. "I care about you too much to let go now." My heart clenched at his words, they were both comforting and terrifying all at once. But just then, a familiar figure approached, a friend from work who had been out on her own evening adventure. "Laura. What are you doing here?" she called out cheerfully before her gaze shifted between Kyle and me, recognition dawning on her face. My mind raced for an explanation that wouldn't sound ridiculous or raise further suspicion about our relationship. Kyle stepped back slightly as if sensing my discomfort growing exponentially by each passing second. "We were just grabbing some dinner," he said casually but without conviction, his attempt at normalcy crumbling under scrutiny. My friend's smile faltered slightly. She glanced between us again before nodding slowly as if piecing together an unsavory puzzle she wished she hadn't stumbled upon. "Well, enjoy," she said awkwardly before retreating back toward her group who were blissfully unaware of any tension surrounding us now. Once she was gone, silence fell between Kyle and me, a heavy weight filled with unspoken fears lingering just beneath our skin. "I can't stand this," I admitted, finally breaking through our shared silence that felt suffocating somehow after seeing her reaction unfold before us both like an unwanted show being played out live on stage for everyone else's entertainment instead of ours alone. "What do you want?" Kyle asked quietly yet firmly. There was something raw in his tone that made me shiver slightly despite myself. His willingness to confront rather than avoid made him even more appealing somehow amidst chaos swirling around us both, now threatening everything we'd built together so far since those fateful late nights began transforming into something deeper than either one anticipated originally when all started simply helping him with schoolwork months ago. "I don't know," I confessed softly. Every word tasted bittersweet on my tongue as it slipped past lips barely formed into coherent sentences anymore, under pressure mounting steadily within me while also fighting against societal norms imposed upon relationships such as ours, which seemed impossible yet real simultaneously, depending solely upon perspective taken regarding them. And then it happened, the moment when time seemed suspended entirely. Kyle reached out, tentatively grasping hold onto one hand tightly enough so that warmth radiated between palms, touching gently yet firmly without hesitation despite uncertainty looming large overhead, still casting shadows across paths ahead leading nowhere clear right now. Suddenly another voice broke through again, interrupting our fragile connection. "Hey, Laura." It was another friend, a colleague this time, who'd joined up unexpectedly alongside others heading home after work hours winding down slowly outside nearby establishments, bustling still, even late into evening hours approaching now. "Are you okay?" she asked concernedly, noticing tension lingering visibly evident between Kyle and myself, instantly raising eyebrows higher than intended, possibly sparking curiosity, further igniting rumors already brewing beneath surface unnoticed until now perhaps. I forced myself to smile despite nerves tightening within chest, feeling constricted, somehow unable to breathe fully amidst chaos unfolding around us, suddenly spiraling out control fast, leaving no room escape any longer available easily anymore, either way chosen. And just like that, we were thrust back into reality where choices made earlier would soon unravel completely, leaving behind consequences unforeseen, potentially altering lives forevermore, starting right here tonight under Portland skies painted dusky hues reflecting uncertainty, lurking everywhere, waiting patiently ready strike down upon unsuspecting hearts caught unaware by sudden shifts occurring beyond comprehension, grasped fully until moments passed away unnoticed, often too quickly fading. Memories left behind, yearning embraced, lost forevermore.